It's Tuesday and it's the college football betting show with the Prez, Teddy Covers, and Dave Cokin. We're so happy that you guys have joined us, and we really appreciate all the views and supports we got last week. Our first show ever, and we were over 8,000 views. I have no doubt we're going to get over 20,000 in the next few weeks. Show's really simple, guys. We're going to take apart 5 games in great detail, and then we're going to take apart 10 games in smaller detail. Shows should be roughly around 45 to 50 minutes long. We're glad you have joined us. And now I'm going to bring in the boys, Dave Cokin and Teddy Covers. And we're going to keep the small talk to a minimum at the beginning. But Teddy, we've already done a couple of sound checks. You're already in a miserable mood. Why?
I'm not in a miserable mood. I signed up for the super contest today. You're the one that's in a miserable mood because you're the one that has to enter the picks.
Oh, that's definitely not going to happen. I have 2 teams in the super contest, one with you, one with Carm. I already called Carm and told him, you're handling the entering of the picks. And I'm telling you, Teddy, you're handling the entering of the picks.
Looks like we just wasted $1,500 because I send all the info to you because you're the guy who's entering the picks.
And so, I told Kelly that she not only has to send you the info, but don't even talk to me about it.
So you want to hear the funny thing, Lawrence? It's the absolute truth. I would rather throw my $750 away and not have an entry in the super contest than to do that every week. So it's up to you.
I'm a lot richer than you. A lot more successful than you. I'm handsomer than you.
Yeah,
I'm younger than you. I perform better in bed than you.
Okay, keep thinking. Go on.
I'm a better poker player.
Now you might have struck a chord on that one.
Teddy, let's make a bet. Let's do a wager, baby. I will enter the picks this week. But let's make a wager.
There you go.
On an NFL game on Sunday. And whoever loses that wager will do the picks for the rest of the year. You pick the game.
Absolutely not. I'm not doing the picks. I'm telling you, I'm not doing. I will help pick the picks with you, but the entry process, that's all you, my friend. You got all. You're so.
Dave Cokin, we did not have an intro for you last week. How did you do, my friend? How are you? And I missed you on first pitch today.
I was 1 game under on the colleges last week. That's not good, but it's not disastrous by any means. And I like the card this week. Expect to have some good results, and I'll have 5 best bets posted. Probably not all by tomorrow. I think I'll probably post like 3 tomorrow. And I'll add a couple more as the week goes on. But we'll have the 5 up there. And
I went 4-2 this week. I had an easy winner, a 5-star on Auburn. I fell asleep in the second quarter. I was like, done.
Never.
Hey, look, you know what? Look, you're gonna lose something like
Northwestern.
That too. So, well, there you go. So you enjoy them when they happen, and don't bitch too loudly when they don't, because everybody remembers the bad beat losers.
I will never forget that Auburn win. Teddy, how did you do, brother? Last year you started the football season 20-4, if memory serves. How was your weekend?
So I won in week 4 of the NFL preseason. I split in college, so 4-2 together in football. The baseball's been good. The NFL preseason was good. And the first a kiss your sister type of weekend. Yeah. I'm not going to complain. But like Dave, I'm expecting better results in week 2. Week 1 is kind of a minefield. I'm glad we're out of it.
Let's get into it, boys. We're going to take apart 5 games. We're going to do one first, and then we'll race to a commercial break. We're going to talk about Ohio State hosting Cincinnati. A really, really great performance by Cincinnati last week. A bunch of us were on UCLA.
By Cincinnati? They benefited from the fact that they played a team that had a quarterback who might have had the worst game I've ever seen. The guy dropped the football twice when nobody touched him. So I would not call that a great performance by Cincinnati by any means.
Okay, well, maybe the quarterback had the worst game ever seen by Dave Cokin's one single eye. I hope that's not a stab at you, my brother.
Good eye. No,
I actually couldn't resist. I could not resist that, Dave.
Did you watch
I watched the entire game, and here's what I know. Cincinnati held them to 17.2 points, 302 yards, under 50% completion rate. Sure, the quarterback sucked, but Cincinnati looked good. I think this team is legit. Ohio State looked amazing in the first quarter. That's where it ended. Line came out at -17. It's now down to 15.5. The total is 55. And Dave, I'll go to you first. What do you like in this game?
Anything. I mean, but, that was a camouflage last week. Cincinnati was not good in that football game. As bad as UCLA was, they were still in the game. They should have been down by 30 points. If Cincinnati had played, that would have been a complete massacre. And I was on UCLA. It was the wrong side by a mile. They were horrific. I thought UCLA, there were a couple of other teams that might have played worse. But in terms of where their projections are and where they performed, I downgraded UCLA more than any other team on the board off that one game. And I usually don't make a big move off one game. So I'm not enamored with Cincinnati, even though my numbers indicate that the spread is about right and maybe there's a shade of value in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Dave. I think now that it's come off 17, I know for me, if I were going to bet this game, I would lean towards Cincinnati. I am passing on this game. Teddy, what do you think?
Well, let's talk about Luke Fickell for a minute. Because, of course, he is the Bearcats head coach. He is the former defensive coordinator from Ohio State.
The Ohio State.
They're actually trying to trademark that.
Yes. I'm in.
It's better than trademarking Taco Tuesdays or Tom Terrific, who is always going to be Tom Seaver in my world.
Yes, indeed.
That's who Tom Terrific was, yeah. But nonetheless, let's not get sidetracked, and let's talk about Luke Fickell and his performance as a defensive coordinator. I'm going to disagree with you, Dave, and I'm not going to do that a lot on this show, but I'm going to disagree with you when it comes to Cincinnati last week. The Bearcats are not going to be able to move the football up and down the field against Ohio State's defense.
Right.
It's not going to happen. All right, that's a dink and dunk. It's a ham and egger kind of offense. But defensively, I was impressed with the Bearcats. I was impressed with their ability to stay tough at the line of scrimmage. I was impressed with the linebacking play, their ability to shoot the gaps and hit those UCLA backs in the backfield. I was impressed with the secondary and their ability to cover receivers in one-on-one coverage. Fickell's the defensive brain. Ohio State's got a defense too. I'm thinking under in this ballgame. I see no way that these two teams are going to be marching up and down the field. I don't see either team pushing pace in this contest. And this is a danger game for the Buckeyes. All they want to do is win this and get out of town. Or stay in town.
He wasn't the worst quarterback on the field is all I can say about what the performance.
He's Dave Cokin. Teddy covers. You can find both of them at wagertalk.com. This is the college football betting show. You can find us on our YouTube channel, Wager Talk TV. We do it every single Tuesday night. We'll be doing it all year. And I'll be doing it with these two guys, the legend Dave Cokin himself and the misery Teddy covers. Although, with that said, Misery Man, you are an incredible handicapper, and I do idolize at least a little bit of you.
Lawrence, we both know that if you could trade lives with me, you'd do it in a second.
Really?
We both know. Even with all your millions, bro. Let's go to commercial.
Hey guys, long story short, thanks so much for watching the show. I got a great promo for you guys. Long story short, I said it twice, but this is live to tape, so we won't be re-editing. Teddy Covers and me, 1 month of either of our college football plays for $99. I use the promo code CFB199. You can see it at the bottom of the screen, CFB99, not 199. I'm all over the map. I'm going to redo this commercial even in the middle of doing the commercial. Hey, everybody. 1 month of Teddy or I college football plays, $99. Use the promo code CFB99. I started the season 4-2, including last year. I'm on a 16-6 run. And Teddy, well, he started the season kissing his sister, as he calls it, which means he went even. The winners are coming. Make sure to use that promo code CFB99 for either Teddy or myself's college football for 1 month, and you can get it over at wagertalk.com. Dave, you're leaning back, looking comfy.
Yes, I am. By the way, I should mention that we're all off to good starts overall because I had a very good NFL preseason, 7-3. So like plus 3 games so far altogether in football. Teddy's off to a terrific start as usual, and you are as well. So let's
Thanks,
keep
brother.
it going.
Hey, Teddy, Friday night I went to a movie with my kid. What do you think about that?
Was it what?
What do I think about the movie, or the fact that your kid was willing to be seen with you in public?
Don't you normally... Oh, Prez, it's football season. We're too busy to watch movies or listening to TV shows or music. I can't even believe you had sex in the middle of football season.
Actually, you need sex in football. I mean, you need that, you know. That's an important... And, of course, you know, for a guy like you, Prez, what's that, over under 2.5 strokes? I mean, it's not taking long. You know, 30 seconds? Minute?
Ooh.
Teddy.
Oh.
Nebraska versus Colorado. Nebraska came out -3.5. Line has really not moved. The total has moved a lot, though. 61 opening. Now it's at 64.5. And we saw a Nebraska win last week. They won 34-21. When you look down at the numbers, they were outgained. They were outgained 314 to 276. Colorado playing at home this week, 3-10 against the spread at home. I expect Nebraska's offense to be back in gear. I think they roll. Colorado allowed 505 yards last week. They're going to allow the same this week. I like the over in this game, even with the line move. Dave Cokin, what do you think?
Well, I don't care about the 3-10 against the spread because none of that was under this coach.
Yep.
To me, past trends under previous coaches are completely useless. Throw them out. They don't mean anything. I said this before the season started. I really like the Colorado hire because it's not just a former Georgia assistant. He brought Georgia guys with them, and I think they've already instilled a new mindset in this team. Now, I'm not saying Colorado is going to do great things this year because they have a somewhat limited talent base, but they're going to be better than they were a year ago. And remember, last season they started 5-0, which was a bit of a fraud, but then they lost the last 7, and that was also a bit of a fraud because everybody knew McIntyre was gone, and sometimes teams get into that lame duck mode mentally, and I think it happened at Colorado last year. Plus, Chenault, their great receiver, he got hurt, and they weren't the same team without him. Nebraska has some issues. Number one, they might be a little bit overhyped. This team was rated in the top 25 to start the season, and they're not a top 25 team. They're just not. They're better than they've been, and you can say, yeah, they lost a lot of tough games last year. They should have been better than they were. The fact is, they still weren't a top 25 team, and I don't think they are this season. The Cornhuskers had some real issues last week, and that was a bad team that they faced. South Alabama stinks, okay? They couldn't snap the ball. A lot of practice work needs to be done there. I thought Martinez, I know the kid's got talent, but he's very scatter-armed at times and does not play well under pressure. I think this is going to be a difficult game for Nebraska. The revenge motive is there. They lost at home to Colorado last year, 33-28, another close game that Nebraska wants to turn the tables on. And I don't disagree with them being favored here, so this isn't going to be a play for me. But I have to see more from Nebraska before I'm comfortable laying points with them on the road. And I like teams that have a new coach and get off to a good start. You've got momentum, kind of a positive attitude built right in. Not that it was a great performance by Colorado last week. In fact, you could argue, and I had Colorado, kind of a lucky cover. They got a defensive scoop and score fairly late in the game that helped. But I still think Colorado comes into this game, I believe, with more confidence than Nebraska, and that could pave the way to a surprise.
Teddy covers. What do you think?
So I got to ask Dave a question here.
Yes.
And this is the question, Dave. Where did you have Colin Hill ranked among the Mountain West quarterbacks coming into the season? Because I didn't have very high. I
had a big question mark next to him because I know the guy's got skills, but I also know he's had a bunch of injury issues, and I don't, whether he was going to pick up where his prospect status left off remained to be for Colorado State, and I have upgraded them in my power ratings because of that.
I thought he played really well, but the point is this. That Colin Hill was a guy who I didn't, coming into the season, I'm like, okay, I don't expect him to light up defense week one. And he went in and he lit up Colorado's defense week one.
Yeah.
That's a concern to me about the Buffaloes. And they certainly were not a good defensive team last year.
No.
And when you're talking about these two quarterbacks, look, Montez is who he is. Okay, he's a senior. We've seen how good he is, which is he's okay. He's got a great receiver in Chanel. But as a quarterback, this is not a guy with an NFL future. He's not a guy who's going to make plays over the field. You like him?
No, but it cracks me up because there are the scouting reports. Uh-huh. They love the guy because he's got a big arm and he's mobile. I agree with you. I don't see any possibility that he's an NFL player.
Sure, he might get drafted.
Yeah, he probably will, based on those variables that scouts seem to love, but I don't see him more than a training camp quarterback.
Right, but Martinez is the QB out of these two who can make plays. Okay, so I've got Nebraska with the better defense and the better quarterback. And that means I don't want Colorado. And you're talking about one team didn't cover week one team did cover week one. Where's the intrinsic value lie?
Yeah.
So for me, it's Huskers are best. But the best play of the bunch, and Prez brought it up. He said, yeah, this total's been bet up. Yeah, it's been bet up for a reason. All right. No, nobody trusts these defenses, and both these offenses should be able to put the biscuit in the basket. So I thought that total came low. Some of that over money was mine.
He's Teddy Covers. Dave Cokin with us. Let's get to the next game, boys. Clemson, -19 is the opening line. Now -17. The total came out at 60.5, and it's been bet up to 64. Just one quick trend for you guys. Jimbo Fisher as a double-digit dog. Only happened 4 times in his career. He is 3-0-1 against the spread. Also, don't forget what happened last year. What a game between Clemson and Texas A&M. A&M, a 2-point conversion away from tying the game. Dave, look, we saw a great Clemson team last week. The problem is they played Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was held to 294 yards, but it is Georgia Tech, and all they do is bloody well run. Much different situation now. I lean on the over here. I'm not going to go to the window with it. I've lost some value here, and also I don't truly know how good the Clemson defense is. My lean is on the over, but that's all I can say. What do you like?
Okay, well, I don't know what to make of last week's performance by Clemson. I think they just, I'm not going to say they mailed it in, but maybe they kind of did. We didn't see what Clemson's capable of last week. And had they been a little sharper, they win the game by 50. That's, look, they should beat Georgia Tech by a ton. I think you see the real Clemson Tigers step forward this week. Trevor Lawrence had, by his standards, an awful game last week. I don't expect that to happen again. Kellen Mond is still a guy who he's very capable, but, and this goes all the way back to his freshman year, he still makes the same mistakes.
Yep.
And I think that's going to get him in trouble here. I think there's going to be a defensive score someplace by Clemson when he forces the issue. Clemson is certainly not going to take Texas A&M lightly because of what happened last year and the fact that, to me, they were clearly looking past a very weak Georgia Tech game for a much more exciting national TV game. I think Clemson names the score in this one. Texas A&M is a very respectable team. They're a legitimate top 20 team, but the gap between maybe the top 4 and everybody else is pretty big. I wouldn't be surprised if Clemson nails them in this one, even at a big price. That's the only side I'm considering.
No, listen. I mean, everything you're saying makes sense. I can't do it, but it makes sense what you're saying. Teddy, talk to me.
Why can't you do it? Look, Kellen Mond. We saw it last week again. When Cokin just said he's making the same mistakes he made when he was a freshman, I watched him last week. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me? That's Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond will make a mistake in this game. It will cost A&M on it. Factor with Clemson. You know, I mean, when you talk about the Clemson and the Alabama, it's 1 and 2. You know, Clemson, Alabama, you can rank them however you want. Looking for reasons to step in front of the 2 best teams in college football. I'm looking for reasons to back the 2 best teams in college football. And the markets aren't, look at every year. Clemson has a winning spread record at the end of the year. Alabama has a winning spread record at the end of the year. You know, I mean, that's just the way it's been. You don't make money in college football betting on very bad teams, and you don't make money in college football fading the very good teams. So, in general, I want to be more on Clemson than against them, and this is a week where you know their focus is going to be there, and you know their opponent makes mistakes. And that, to me, is enough of a factor. Let me make one point here, Prez, and it's important, because you're talking about the opening line for college football, and that is a misnomer. It is not real. These are the opening lines for college football. Circa opens 1. BetOnline opens 1. Win opens 1. Westgate opens 1. Pinnacle opens 1. Bookmaker opens 1. There's a bunch of different opening lines for college football. What I do is Sunday night before I go to bed, I write down the consensus number, and that's what I'll call the opening line moving forward for the rest of the week. The opening line for this game, 17.5, exactly where it sits right now.
Yes, and I couldn't agree more with Teddy. And part of the reason for that is, and I love what Circa's doing, getting in front of everybody with the first college football numbers. And they're even decent limits. $2,000 on sides is a pretty good size limit. But there's still a lot of market manipulation that can take place even with $2,000 as a limit. So I would be hesitant to call any one line the opening line. I fully agree with Teddy. It should be a consensus opening line. And curiously enough, I also made this 17.5 as the opening number.
I was having sex on Sunday night. Will be again this Sunday.
And that's not okay. Sunday night is not a sex night, dude.
No, you're supposed to be doing college football on Sunday night.
Friday night, Friday night you can get away with doing something. If there's one night a week I'm going to do something, a lot of times it'll be on Friday night.
Yeah, so I have sex every night.
All your stuff in, and that's your chance. But Sunday night? No.
Okay, thanks, Teddy.
No.
Just so everybody knows, the opening line I'm using is at Bookmaker. 2 more games to get into deep. And this one, Dave, Tennessee, BYU. Tennessee, man. We haven't seen an upset like that in a while. They're -3.5 favored this weekend. The over and under is 51.5. And Dave, here's a great trend, and Ralph mentioned it on Morning Joe and the Pro today. Teams that lost outright as a home favorite of a touchdown or more, 5-16 the next week as a favorite. So what I was talking to Ralph about was, I wouldn't want to play Tennessee this week. They're going to have a bad taste in their mouth. They're going to need a palate cleanse. Well, this situation has happened over and over again. And a lot of times these teams are just down in the dumps. I mean, it is going to be very hard for Tennessee to refocus and remotivate themselves after that loss. And in this situation, those teams are 5-16 against the spread. BYU, they just played the best defensive line in the country. Tennessee's a big step down. I know, Dave, you were high on BYU going into the Utah game. I wasn't.
No, yeah, I was. Yeah. And they sucked. So that's the thing about the trend that you just mentioned. How many of those games involved said home favorite coming off a loss as whatever, a double-digit home favorite or touchdown more home favorite? How many of them involved playing a team that just got the shit kicked out of them in their biggest game, their most important game on the entire schedule?
Yeah, and I don't know that, and that's a great point.
That's why
I'm not a trend guy either. Dave, if you listen to the NFL presidential address, which I'm sure you did because, well, everybody does, you would hear that, yeah, I'm with you, dude. I'm a seeing eye test guy. I'm a drive chart guy. I'm a matchups guy. But no, I mean, on a whole, I'm not a trend guy. I will tell you this, though. I like the under in this game, Dave. I think both teams are going to struggle to score. It's 51.5. I would not be surprised if this game is in the low 40s. So where are you going to go in this one, Dave?
Well, okay. So we'll say that both teams played horrible games last week. Tennessee was the more embarrassing loss because it came against a Sun Belt team that they're supposed to beat by 3 touchdowns, and they really got destroyed in the game. I mean, they got outrushed. What was it? 213-93 by a Sun Belt team. Wow. But the flip side of it is BYU it was sky high for that game. Sataki, who was an absolutely horrible game coach, takes a terrible gamble right out of the gate, 4th and 6 or something like that, close to midfield. Punt the ball, stupid. That's not a spot with your offense. You're going to have to win the game with defense anyway. So instead, he doesn't. He goes for it, and he basically hands Utah a score right out of the gate. And then the second half, BYU was just completely overrun, which isn't surprising because Kyle Whittingham versus Sataki is an enormous mismatch. Sataki isn't as mismatched here because the Tennessee coaching staff isn't exactly Bear Bryant and company. But Tennessee, in my opinion, still has way more talent than BYU. And I think they just had a really, really stinkeroo of a game last week. My power ratings don't wildly adjust off one game. So as bad as Tennessee was last week, I only docked them about a point. And I also docked BYU about a point because what we saw out of BYU is that the whole team is Wilson and the tight end. That's it. The quarterback and the tight end. They got nothing else on offense. This number's short. Okay, I make Tennessee -7 here. So to me, you got a -3 or 3.5, where my number says -7. That's a mail it in. I'm going to take that -3 almost every time.
Dave likes here. Tennessee, Teddy. I like the under. Where is the silver-haired misery man going?
I see the whole misery man thing. You've been a grumpy bum.
Dude, I've been a grumpy bum since the day you walked into my life.
And that was your call, dude. You're the one that invited me.
You look good though, Teddy. I love the jacket. I like the shirt. I wonder where you got it.
It is a nice jacket.
You?
This shirt, the jacket I've had for a while. And you helped me buy some T-shirts. Thanks, Prez. You want me to talk about the game?
Nah, not talking. Nah. I want to see what about the pants?
Yeah, show us your pants, Teddy. Show us your pants.
Yeah.
We want your pants. Show us. Show us.
I won't do it. There was I think it was it NBC? I forget the local affiliate. They wanted me to come in and do a thing one summer day, and I've been out. And I'm like, all right, I'll come in and shoot. And then they're like, oh yeah, we have a full. They have three shot. Like, you're gonna have to wear. I'm like, there's no freaking way. She's like, no, we got to tape it. I take that one segment with shorts, and so help me. A, I've never lived it down. B, I've never returned any of her phone calls ever since. My legs are not fit for television. I'll just put it that way.
What a great upper half.
My number was
Tennessee,
higher
Teddy.
Than
Tennessee.
What? Hey?
Silent.
You're talking over.
Did you say your number's higher than mine?
Yes, yours number was 7. My number is higher.
Wow. Right? Okay.
And what you said about BYU, where they don't have anybody who can get open. They're not going to out-scheme you, and they don't have anybody who can get open.
No, and by the way, if Tennessee's smart, I think you double the tight end. Bushman, that kid's an NFL player. You take him away, they got nothing.
The question, though, is whether Tennessee's smart.
Well, yeah.
And that's, I know I don't want BYU. The question is, can I, and my number comes very high, again, higher than yours, Dave. But if I'm betting the Volunteers, I need to read something from someone in that locker room that says, yeah, we're excited about this game. And I haven't found that quote yet.
I'll give you one. It's not a quote, but the coaching staff at Tennessee still has a chance to be intact after this season. BYU is heading to an 0-4 start, and Sataki can put the for sale sign up on his house in Provo. He gone. Gone.
So where are you going, Teddy?
Do you listen when I'm actually talking?
I don't. So tell me again.
Okay. Well, for those who listened, they're aware already that I don't want BYU. It's Tennessee or pass. And I'm looking for a quote.
Yeah, I heard that. It bored me.
A player's quote. Don't, yeah. You just asked me to repeat my frickin' self, dude.
Teddy, I have a real, and I'm not, no bullshit, I have a really good contact at Tennessee, and I have not talked to him yet. I will email you what he tells me. He's, let's just say he's very close to the program. Has been since the Fulmer days.
Boys, last game before we take a commercial break and look at the remaining 10 real quick. LSU -6, total is 55. Bottom line for me, LSU is going to play a very high tempo. Texas allowed 413 yards at home against La Tech last week. 340 passing yards. La Tech had a 65% completion rate. I'm going way over the total in this game. Do either of you guys have the guts to bet against Tom Herman as a dog? 13-2 as a head coach at Texas. 21-20 go Texas and Houston. 21-20 going back to Ohio State and Iowa State. Dave?
Okay.
No, that's 21-2.
21-2. What did I say?
So
yeah,
you said
21-2. I'm an idiot.
Close. Well, he might be 21-3. To me, if there's a party crasher between Alabama and Clemson, it's LSU. And I said this last week, and I am just an idiot at times because I loved LSU last week, and I talked myself out of the game because it's like, well, boy, I don't know if they're going to show their entire offense here and play this death ray or whatever the hell they call it, because they've got the big game against Texas on deck. Well, they did, and they just annihilated Georgia Southern, which isn't the worst team in the world, by the way. Big, tremendous speed on defense, and now the offense is really good. The quarterback looks great in this new offense. This hire of Brady to run the offense was a stroke of genius. LSU, I got to tell you something. They might, when it's all said and done, they might win the whole thing. I mean, I know Alabama and Clemson are the two favorites. If you want to take a shot with somebody, it's LSU. They're that good. Unless Texas plays its best game, they're going to get beat here. I don't think they'll get slaughtered. They're a good football team, and they are at home. But what did I make the number on this game? 17. Looks like about -10. LSU's probably going to end up on my card.
Teddy covers.
Not my card. Let me ask you this, and again, Cokin, I like going right back to you because you actually know something about college football as opposed to.
So I went 4-2 this week.
No, the guy who you have making your play.
Team Prez. I don't make any bones about it, Teddy. I got a damn Teddy. Prez, I got 3 companies to run.
I'm not mad at you. You got Team Prez. That's who you are. That's fine. But I'm going to Cokin because Cokin's going to actually know something about these teams. Dave Cokin, who do you have rated as the better quarterback, Sam Ehlinger or Joe Burrow?
I have to look it up.
I've got Ehlinger higher than Burrow.
Give me 30
Okay,
seconds.
while he looks it up, Teddy, let's not bore everyone. Tell us who you like.
Do you think I'm going to just let it sit for 30 seconds, Prez? Do you think I haven't done a pod with you before? I'm going to keep talking. You don't have to push me. I'll get there. It's okay. Smile a little bit. Enjoy yourself. Now, when it comes to LSU, Texas, I agree with the concept of LSU love. I do not agree with the concept that LSU is nearly a touchdown better than Texas in Austin. And what we've seen in the betting markets over the first 2 weeks of the season is very clear. The betting markets do not like the Texas Longhorns.
Right.
Period. And we saw last week, oh, it's a bad box score. You better bet against Texas. That's a bad box score. And we've seen the money. Here comes LSU. They had a good box score. They look impressive. I do not trust LSU to win this game by margin on the highway. I can only take Texas. And again, my numbers say Texas has the better quarterback at home, catching more than a field goal. That's the only way I would look. And again, Herman's track record. Cokin made a great point earlier in the pod, talking about, hey, once the coach leaves, the trend leaves with the coach. When you have a guy who at Iowa State and at Ohio State and at Houston and at Texas, it's been the same thing everywhere. All he does is gets his teams to overachieve as underdogs. I could only take Herman plus in this one, so Cokin and I get to disagree. Dave, Burrow.
One. I have Ellinger 1 point higher.
Exactly. Yeah, you got the better quarterback catching points at home.
But there's a caveat.
Much better defense on the other side.
No. The caveat is that my rating on Burrow was based on what he did last year under a different offensive coordinator. And based on what I saw last week, and I know it was against Georgia Southern, which is not Texas, I think I'm going to have to upgrade him. I'll see what happens in this game. This will be the true test. Burrow was great in that offense last week.
Guys, let's take a quick break. Then we're going to get back. We're going to look at 10 games, 1 minute for each game. And also, don't forget, everybody, Morning Joe and the Pro. Wednesday's show includes the famous legend himself, Dave Cokin. And we will have a promo for Dave tomorrow. So make sure to tune in. And the NFL presidential address, the most listened to, most watched, most loved, most desired and adored NFL handicapping show on the planet. We tape tomorrow, Wednesday as well, and that's me and Kelly. Guys, I already spoke to you all in the first half, in the first commercial break. I just want to reiterate, Teddy or my college football bets for a full month, $99. Use the promo code CFB99. And as well, I have a 5% play up for week 1 in NFL. I spoke a lot about it on Morning Joe and the Pro on the Tuesday's show. It's literally a play. We don't have games of the year over at Wager Talk or Sports Memo, but I'm telling you, I don't know if I'm going to like a play more than I'm going to like this one. I think the number is completely skewed. I don't think we're going to see that number at all with either of these teams on the field. So check that 5% play out at wagertalk.com, and you can have it for half price. Use the promo code PREZ20. That's PREZ20. Guys.
Hang on. Why doesn't Cokin get a promo?
You want to know why?
I don't want.
Because Cokin made so many freaking sales off of his college football promo we did on First Pitch 10 days ago. There's nobody left. And rightfully so, Teddy, because however good you and I are in college football, we will never be Dave Cokin.
No, that's you never know from year to year. I mean, it's good. Look, I don't bullshit anybody. I've had a lot of great seasons in college football. I also had a season way back when, and it's sad but true. I'd had a run doing the Stardust Sunday night shows where I'd hit I had some absurd percentage for 4 years in a row.
Yep.
And I was actually moving the line.
Yep.
When I give out the games on Sunday, boom, there goes the lines at Pinnacle. They were getting the games offshore. They were plugged into the show. Somebody was listening, and because that was before all this nonsense with the internet, and somebody was getting in the games immediately. Oh, Cokin likes it, so they moved the line. And then I started season 1-9 or 1-10, whatever it was, in the first 3 weeks. So we don't want that again. But everybody has moments where they're not very
So there's
good.
your answer, Teddy. Guys, 1 minute per game, 30 seconds each. Boise State
All right.
minus 10.5 against Marshall. Friday night game, 56.5. Outstanding performance by Boise State last week. What a comeback. Probably the most exciting game other than my Auburn cover on the board. Dave, what are you doing?
Boy, what a performance by the Boise State freshman. Who was ripping? They've already forgotten about him in Boise. And this place is going to be hopping on Friday night. But Boise's got to be careful about reading the press clippings and they have to try and avoid a natural letdown against a much lesser opponent that they're supposed to handle. And Marshall can play a little bit. Conference USA is not good, but Marshall is a respectable team. I think I'm not going to play Marshall in this game, but I'm not going to play Boise either. This is a dangerous spot for them.
I've got a
Real dangerous spot for Boise State. And it's funny, Dave, when you were having those incredible runs on the Stardust line back in the day, that was when I first moved to Vegas. And Boise State at that point,
oh, boy,
had the strongest home field in all of college football, the blue turf. Look at Boise the last 2 seasons as home chalk, and you ain't laying points with Boise against Marshall in a clear flat spot for the Broncos. That being said, 4 true Frost QBs got the start in week 1.
Yep.
And those 4 true Frost QBs went 4-0 straight up, 4-0 or 3-0-1 against the spread, depending on where you got the number. But they were all moneymakers, is the point.
Also, and this is really interesting, the last 2 years, the old axiom was bet the team with lots of experience out of the gate.
Yep.
The last 2 seasons, the teams with a shitload of returning starters losing against the spread. The teams with new casts of characters winning against the spread. Well, what the point is that the odds makers, who are not stupid the last time I checked, are factoring this into the numbers going in because they know that people are going to gravitate to the team with all the experience, and you might be getting cheated in the line, which means the value might actually be on the other side, something to pay attention to early next season.
Sure. The teams with, 9 starters or less had a monster day against the spread on Saturday. And if you throw out the FCS
guys, we got to move to the next game real quick, just on what Teddy was saying.
Right.
Boise State in their last 4 years at home on the blue turf, 7-18. Virginia Tech minus 28.5 at some books against Old Dominion. Revenge. Last year, they were a 27.5 point favorite at Old Dominion, and that turned ugly. I had Virginia Tech on my card this week. I lost with them, but I will say this. The biggest bet I made on Saturday was Virginia Tech second half, and I did cash that. Their defense just looks terrible. Dave, what are we doing in this one?
Well, sometimes revenge gets overrated. I don't think it does here. I mean, Old Dominion celebrated like they won the national championship last year, and with good reason, because that was the biggest win in program history, and I think probably the worst loss in Virginia Tech's program history. Very embarrassing. And coming off a loss, boy, they might take it out on a bad Old Dominion team. This could get real
Teddy,
ugly.
thoughts?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that concept. That being said, I don't want to lay 4 touchdowns with a team that doesn't play defense. There's 2 things that I need when I'm laying 4 touchdowns or more in a college football game. I need the ability for quick strikes on offense. I don't want a team that has to go 10 plays, 80 yards every time. I want a team that has a playmakers that can get in the end zone in one play. And I need a defense that can actually hold the lead once they're leading by margin. I don't know if Virginia Tech's got either one of those factors, so they're not the type of team I'm looking to lay 4 touchdowns.
Michigan at home.
And oh, by the way, Prez, you said we haven't seen an upset like that in quite some time. Virginia Tech was 4 touchdown favorites last year when they lost by 2 touchdowns to ODU, which is worse what happened to Tennessee last weekend?
Michigan minus 23, over and under 46, 47.5. They're hosting Army. Army last week, wow. Offensively, 284 yards at home against Rice as a huge favorite. Not very good. But Michigan, they unveiled their no-huddle spread offense, and it was just plagued by mistakes all around. Dave, what do you like in this game?
I think Army's dangerous here. Not to get the upset. I don't think they're capable of beating a Michigan team that is very good defensively. But Army's better than they showed last week. They were clearly looking ahead to the bigger game. I think they thought they were going to just destroy Rice with good reason. And I think Army will play a lot better. And Michigan, I don't know how much they prepared for the option. So I wouldn't be surprised if Army kind of hangs around and loses by 14, 17, something like that.
Yeah, my issue is entirely with Army's ability to score in this game, because it's not a team with playmakers. If Michigan is prepared for the option, and the Wolverines have a bye on deck and then Wisconsin, so in theory they're supposed to be prepared for what they're going to see here. Whether the focus level's there is another question. But if Michigan's prepared, Army ain't hitting the end zone. So they're going to have to do something special to get in the end zone in this ball game. And those aren't the dogs I want to back. Lean
under, because if Army can't score, and we know Michigan's offense isn't quite there yet, and Army's going to hold the ball.
This is a low possession game.
I like that call a lot,
Michigan's
Dave.
not going to be able to play at a crazy pace.
Makes a lot of sense. I was on Missouri last week. I didn't release it to my clients, but I did bet it. Terrible. Now they're a minus 14 favorite. The over and under is 62.5. And look, I expect Missouri to bounce back. I don't know if they're going to cover the line, but they were minus 3 in turnovers against Wyoming last week, but they outgained them by 150, 60 yards. I don't know what to do in this game, guys. I think we're going to see a better Missouri team. I just don't know. I think the line might be too high. Dave?
I kind of agree with that, although West Virginia was not good last week against a good but still FCS team. They only ran for 34 yards. So the weakness that Missouri had last week was against the run. Wyoming doesn't throw it at all. I mean, if Bull has his way, he'll throw 0 passes in the game for Wyoming. He has no quarterback. But Wyoming can run. West Virginia can't. So Missouri's soft interior doesn't get exposed here. But I still can't lay 2 touchdowns. If I had to play it, I guess I'd bet Missouri, but I don't have to bet it. I'm not going to.
Teddy?
Well, when you saw Kelly Bryant last week, and if you watch that Missouri-Wyoming game, Wyoming 3 and out, Missouri easy touchdown. Wyoming 3 and out, Missouri easy touchdown. It's 14-0. That game is over in the first quarter. I thought Missouri was going to win that game 58-0. And then all of a sudden, all of it was Missouri mistakes.
Yeah, it was.
It was Missouri mistakes. Defense. The 2 long touchdowns for Wyoming was backs that aren't. What was the quarterback and what was the running back? Neither one's a speedster. Neither one got touched. Okay, it was all scheme and bad angles, and they were gone to the end zone, which Missouri can't let stuff that happen. And then Kelly Bryant looked like a clown. Kelly Bryant was awful. You could see. Game Dabo made the decision he did to bench Bryant and start Trevor Lawrence because Kelly Bryant was bad. And if Kelly Bryant plays bad this week, Missouri ain't covering. Sure, they won. I mean, it's a game that you could have easily pictured them winning in dominating fashion. It didn't happen that way, and that's definitely a concern for me moving forward. I don't want any part of West Virginia. It's still Missouri or pass for me.
No one was more horrific than UCLA, and we spoke about it at the top of the show. Their QB, Thompson Robinson, 8 for 26, 156 yards, 2 turnovers. Here they are, home favorite, -7 against San Diego State, and I'm just hands off on this UCLA team. Dave?
I want to play UCLA because San Diego State is, again, the same San Diego State team. They have no quarterback. They can't throw the ball. They're one-dimensional on offense. They do have a good defense, but one-dimensional teams aren't supposed to be able to go on the road and beat Pac-12 teams. The problem is, can UCLA score against the 3-3-5 that you're going to see from Rocky Long? That's what you always see. This kid was just awful last week, and it brings about the question, why did Chip Kelly not take him out? I mean, I don't care who the second unit guy is. You weren't winning that game with DTR at quarterback last week. You just weren't. Put in somebody else. I don't know. Sometimes I think these guys who come back to college from the NFL are doing it for the paycheck a little more. I'll have to see a lot more out of UCLA before I trust them with a wager again.
Eddie?
I've got San Diego State power rated. I mean, Dave, you nailed it. They're exactly where they've been the last 3 or 4 years, last 5, 6 years. I mean, my power rating for San Diego State hasn't really, it's been pretty steady for quite some time. In the last 3 years alone, they have wins over Cal, Arizona State, Stanford, Boise. There's another one that was really good. Whatever. Arizona State again last year. They step up for these games. They do it every year. You've seen it. I don't know how San Diego State scores, but in terms of defensively, what we expect from Rocky Long's squad is the ability to shut down teams like UCLA. They do it every year. I could only take the Aztecs plus and or the under. I do think there is some correlation between San Diego State and the under, and or if you like UCLA, you might want to look at the over. But I think the correlation is stronger. Aztecs ain't covering in a shootout.
Guys, Auburn hosting Tulane. Just a real quick vent. You don't need to respond. I think the Auburn coach is out of his mind. I think I don't understand how he didn't go for 2 with 9 minutes to go in the game.
I don't either.
It made no sense to me. I racked up. I was with my girlfriend Vivian. I was saying to her, like, if you get it, you're tied. If you miss, you're down by 2. There's no difference between being down by 1 or down by 2. It was one of the silliest, stupidest coaching maneuvers I've ever seen in my life. Then he goes and does it again, like 8 minutes later. Yet here they are, 1-0, monster comeback against Oregon. They faced Tulane. They got Kent State on deck. They're going to start the season 3-0. With that said, how good did Tulane look last week, outgaining FIU 554 to 267? That is a lopsided game. Auburn minus 18, 52 on the table. I'm staying as far away from this Auburn team as I possibly can. I got Irishman came over to my house and literally inserted the horseshoe up my butt. Even with the worst brain cramp coach on the planet, Auburn got lucky. I covered.
Yeah.
Done. Dave?
Well, he wasn't the worst brain cramp coach on the planet. Well, no.
Mac Brown is the biggest part of the day.
I think
unconscionable, Dave. You cannot make that mistake as a college football head coach. That was unconscionable by Mac Brown.
Yeah, okay. Well, but which is worse? USC gets penalized on the opening kickoff because they got 2 guys on the field with the same number. What the heck? Are you kidding me?
Mac Brown was still worse, dude. You can't take a knee when there's 8 seconds left at midfield.
I know.
Be a big break for
it. They got excited and it just kind of screwed up.
Auburn.
Listen, wait a minute. Go back to the Auburn game. He was still the best coach in the field. Mario Cristobal has learned nothing from the episode with Stanford last year, where he blew the game.
Waste timeouts.
He is awful. He might be the worst clock management guy I have ever seen, because he did it against Stanford. He did it in another game after that last year. It's like, dude, did you not learn anything? And then he did it again last week. He lost the game for Oregon, because as bad as Malzahn's decision was, Malzahn basically gave Oregon the football game, and Cristobal said, "No, I don't want it. Here, you take it."
Okay, Dave, what are we doing in this game?
It's nothing. Fritz did a great job last year. They play a hybrid last week. They play a hybrid option that I don't think Auburn's going to particularly prepare for, and Tulane might hang
Teddy?
around.
Yeah, I mean, the box score numbers for Tulane last week, you take them with a grain of salt. Week 1, they jumped out. I think at the end of one quarter, there was like a 200-0 yardage edge in that ballgame. The rest of the game was basically pretty even. But it was garbage time after the rest of the game because they were already up 3 scores. I can only look at the dog in this one. Do not like the spot.
Penn State covered 70 last week. The line is now 29.5.
Yep.
They're hosting Buffalo. And one thing we know, Penn State's going to score. Myers, freshman quarterback for Buffalo, he put up 69 yards last week of passing offense. He's going to have no choice but to pass this week. I don't like that it's over 28, so I'm going to stay away from this game. Dave, where are you going?
Look, James Franklin likes to run the score up. He did it again last week. James Franklin is really good against bad teams. He'll screw things up in the games that matter because he's not very good in big games. But James Franklin against a Buffalo team that really lost everything of note from last year, this could be real ugly.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State has a strong home field, unlike some teams with a purported strong home field edge. And when you talk about power rating adjustments from the end of one season to the beginning of the next, Dave, did you lower any team more than Buffalo?
No.
In the offseason? Because I had Buffalo as my single biggest dropper in the offseason.
Yeah, so did I. They went from the top of the MAC to maybe the middle of the MAC.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder why Leopold didn't take another job. When you have the chance, you bolt. He didn't do it.
Okay, three more games. Washington minus 14 against California. There are a few 13.5s on the board. The over and under around 44.5. Revenge is in play. Washington lost 12-10 last year as a 12-point away favorite. I like this Washington team, Dave. I lean on them this week, but I hate the number.
Well, I like this Washington team too, but the problem is the revenge, but we might see the same game because California can play defense. They can't play the offense, but laying big numbers against a team that is good defensively and does nothing on offense except try and eat the clock and shorten the game, those are games that dogs up
and Dave, I mean, to your point, Cal 3-13 to the under in their last 16 games, 7 straight unders. Teddy, what do you like in this one?
I think this Huskies team might be as good or better than last year's team. And I think in general, Washington's something of an undervalued commodity. But we've seen nothing but Washington money early in the week, so maybe they were undervalued. I don't know if it's going to last all that much longer.
Minnesota against Fresno State, Dave. Minnesota, the favorite, -3. The total 46.5. Fresno, they outgained USC 462 to 447. They looked impressive. They're at home this week, and I'll tell you, I lean towards Fresno State.
I like this Minnesota team. It's a good revenge spot for Fresno because they lost last year at Minnesota on what might have been the best interception I saw all season. Just a phenomenal play in the end zone by a Minnesota kid. It was absolutely extraordinary. Cost me a win, by the way, because I had Fresno in that game. So that's probably why I remember it so well. Tedford's an outstanding football coach. They're not as good as they were last year. The quarterback is a work in progress. I think Minnesota's the better team. I don't think I can play it, though. As high as my opinion is on Minnesota, they weren't real good last week. So I've got to see what they can do here in Fresno. Fresno's score was a bit misleading. It was thanks to Daniels getting hurt and the fact that USC has arguably the worst coach out of all 130 Division I coaches. Well, I'm not being sarcastic. He's terrible.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. I agree with that at all, Dave. I do, however, I know this. I don't want Fresno. We talk about teams, I'm like, hey, there might be some value with Washington. Washington's a little bit overlooked in the Pac-12 this year. Minnesota has been overlooked in the Big Ten this year, and there's a lot of other teams getting hype. We talked about Nebraska, there's a bunch of them. Minnesota's not one of them. Now it's third season for Fleck, and I love the fact that they didn't show anything last week, and the box score wasn't good last week, and the markets aren't hot on Minnesota right now. They are the epitome of the type of under-the-radar team that I think has the potential to offer real value moving forward, including this weekend.
Last game, boys, Oregon State -6.5 in Hawaii. Unbelievable win by Hawaii last week. Disaster by Oregon State. I released Oklahoma State to my customers, so I'm pretty pleased about that. What are we doing in this one? Another massive total. Dave, where were you going?
I know Hawaii's going to throw the ball, but they'll be able to run it here as well. I mean, the Oregon State's rush defense last week was embarrassing. They gave up 352 yards. I mean, that is pathetic. I still don't understand what this preseason hype and people betting the over on Oregon State's win total was all about, because they're the worst team in the Pac-12, and I think they're the worst team by a pretty good margin. The number's gone up, and I don't disagree with that. Hawaii is on a roll that started last year under Tim Rolovich and hasn't stopped.
Luton was good last week for Oregon State. All right, so they have a quarterback, and last year they did not have good quarterback play at any stage over the course of the season. So we got good quarterback play for the Beavers, and we have a ridiculously bad defense. It's all about pace. Number on the total came out a good notch too higher. Both these teams flew over week one. And I'm not convinced the markets have them priced appropriately when it comes to the total here.
Boys, that's the show. Teddy Covers, Dave Cokin, thanks so much for joining me. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure, please, to comment on our YouTube channel, Wager Talk TV. I read every single comment, and I try hard to respond to all of them. Don't forget our promo code. The main one today is CFB99, and that gets you a full month's access of either Teddy or myself's college football bets. That's CFB99. Make sure to keep watching Morning Joe and the Pro. It's up every day at around 2 p.m. Eastern. And the NFL presidential address with Kelly Stewart. We tape tomorrow. Very excited about that. Teddy and Dave, you're both awesome. Hulk Hogan, Flex, Prez, out!